Have you ever stopped to think, I mean, really think, what it might be like to live by uh, a truly ancient rule book? Not just, general guidelines, but a super detailed, maybe divinely inspired manual for, well, everything. Your food, how you approach the sacred.
Yeah, it's a different world where every little thing, every offering had these precise rules. Purity, respect.
Exactly. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that kind of text. We're looking closely at parts of Leviticus 22, sacred offerings and acceptable sacrifices. And wow, it's quite a glimpse into this really meticulous world.
It is. It's where the sacred and just everyday life are completely intertwined, and the stakes seem incredibly high.
Right. So our mission today, let's try to unpack what approaching the divine with that level of respect and purity really meant back then. We'll focus on the nitty-gritty of the offerings and, importantly, who exactly was allowed to handle them.
That's a great way to put it, because this isn't just some dusty list of rules, right? It's more like a blueprint. A blueprint for maintaining holiness, maintaining order within the whole community's relationship with the sacred. It's laid out so precisely.
Okay, so let's unpack this. It starts with this core instruction given to Moses for Aaron and his sons. God tells them, essentially, treat the sacred offerings with total respect so they don't profane his holy name.
And profane here is key. It's not just being rude. It means treating holy things as common, as defiled. It's a direct dishonor.
Yeah, and the text even states right there, I am the Lord. Like a direct assertion of authority behind these rules.
Absolutely. And what really jumps out is the intense focus on the priest's personal purity, his actual physical and ritual state. It says, for generations, if any descendant of Aaron is unclean and goes near these sacred offerings, that person must be cut off from my presence.
Wow, cut off. That sounds severe.
It's incredibly severe. It could mean being kicked out of the community, or maybe even, a divine punishment. It really hammers home the danger of impurity near the divine.
And the things that could make a priest unclean. It's quite a list, isn't it? It gives you a real sense of how pervasive that threat of impurity must have felt day to day. Specific skin diseases, bodily discharges,
right?
Touching something defiled by a dead body or certain bodily fluids.
Even touching certain crawling things, as the text puts it.
Yeah. Or someone else who is unclean. It makes you wonder the constant vigilance required.
Absolutely.
And then the purification process, it was also very specific. You stay unclean till evening, you have to bathe, and only after sunset are you clean again.
Only then could they eat the sacred offerings. Not a minute sooner.
It really highlights that time itself was part of the ritual cleansing.
And zooming out a bit, it wasn't just about touching things. There were dietary rules tied to purity too.
Yeah.
Priests couldn't eat animals found dead or killed by wild animals. That would also make them unclean.
Right.
And it all circles back, doesn't it, to God making them holy. It reinforces this idea that their state of being, their very essence, affected their ability to engage with the sacred. It wasn't just ticking boxes.
No, it was about who they were. Okay, so that's the priests. Now, who actually got to eat these sacred offerings? The text calls it the priest's food.
Yeah, and this is where you see how exclusive it really was. The text is blunt. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offering.
No outsiders.
Oh, not even a guest staying with the priest or his hired help. It's a very tight circle.
But then there are these interesting inclusions, almost exceptions. A slave bought by the priest or one born in his household. They could eat the priest's food.
That is fascinating. It suggests that being part of the priest's household, even through servitude, granted a certain level of inclusion.
But contrast that with the priest's own daughter. If she marries someone outside the priesthood,
she's out. She cannot eat the sacred contributions anymore.
Which is quite the statement about lineage and marriage, isn't it?
It really is. But wait, there's another twist for the daughter.
Oh, yeah.
If she becomes a widow or gets divorced, has no kids, and then moves back into her father's house, like when she was young.
She can eat it again.
Yes. She can eat her father's food again. But the text repeats, no unauthorized person may eat it.
Huh. So returning to the father's household sort of resets her status, reconnects her to that priestly line.
Exactly. It seems her primary connection, for this purpose, was through that male priestly lineage. Her marriage temporarily severed it, but returning restored it in a way.
Fascinating. Okay, what about mistakes? Someone eats it accidentally.
Ah, yes, the text covers that too. If someone eats a sacred offering by mistake, they have to pay the priest back for it.
Makes sense.
And add a fifth of its value on top, like a penalty or an interest payment.
20% penalty, ouch.
It shows they took it seriously, even accidents. And it put the onus back on the priests, too. They were warned not to desecrate the offerings by letting the wrong people eat them, because that would bring guilt upon those people. It's a system of checks and balances.
Okay, so that's who eats. Let's shift to the offerings themselves, the animals. This is the second big theme, and the rules are, well, incredibly strict.
Oh, absolutely. The core idea is perfection. Any animal for a burnt offering or a fellowship offering had to be without defect, without a blemish.
And defect wasn't just a minor imperfection, was it?
No, not at all. A flawed offering, you could argue, suggested a flawed intention maybe, or an incomplete offering to God. The idea was that only the absolute best, the pinnacle, was worthy.
And the list of disqualifying defects is incredibly specific. We're talking blind animals, injured ones, maimed.
Things with warts or sores that were festering or running.
Yeah, it paints a pretty graphic picture of what not to bring.
It does. And it even gets down to the specifics of the animal's testicles. If they were bruised, crushed, torn, or cut, that animal was unacceptable.
It really was a rigorous inspection process, wasn't it? Like quality control for the divine.
You could say that.
Yeah.
And importantly, these rules applied universally.
Right, not just for Israelites. It says even an animal from a foreigner residing in Israel had to meet these standards.
Defective animals were simply not accepted, period, because they were seen as deformed, flawed.
There's that one really interesting exception you mentioned earlier.
Yes, the free will offering versus the vow.
Hmm.
This is key. An ox or sheep that was technically deformed or stunted could be offered as a free will offering, just a spontaneous gift.
Right.
But it would absolutely not be accepted to fulfill a vow.
So a promise made to God required absolute perfection in the payment.
Exactly. It suggests that fulfilling a solemn vow demanded the highest standard, an unblemished commitment, whereas a spontaneous gift had a bit more leeway, perhaps reflecting the heart's intent over strict physical perfection in that specific case. It's a subtle but really significant distinction.
That is fascinating. Okay, beyond the physical condition, what about timing, age, and life cycles?
Yes.
Yeah.
That factored into it. It wasn't just what kind of animal, but when.
Like the rule about a young animal, a calf, lamb, or goat. It had to stay with its mother for 7 days first.
Right. Only from the 8th day onwards was it considered acceptable as a food offering.
Any thoughts on why 7 days? Does that connect to creation or completion, maybe?
It's possible. 7 is often a number signifying completion or perfection in the text. Perhaps it allowed the animal a minimum period of natural life and maternal care before being considered for sacrifice. And then there's that other striking rule about timing.
The one about not slaughtering the mother and her young on the same day.
Exactly. Do not slaughter a cow or a sheep and its young on the same day.
What do you think that signifies? Is it about, like, basic compassion or something deeper?
It could be several things. Maybe a respect for that maternal bond, as you say, or perhaps a way to prevent excessive consumption, ensuring the continuation of the flock. It hints at a kind of ecological or natural wisdom embedded in the ritual law, or reverence for life cycles.
Interesting. And then finally, the thank offerings. Quick turnaround on those.
Very quick. They had to be sacrificed properly, sure, but then eaten that same day.
Leave none of it till morning. No leftovers allowed.
Right. Again, probably not just about food safety back then.
So what's the message there? Gratitude needs to be fresh.
That seems to be the implication, doesn't it?
Like,
thankfulness should be immediate, fully consumed, experienced in the moment. Yeah. Don't let it sit around and get stale or be forgotten. It's a powerful idea about the nature of gratitude itself.
Wow. Okay, wrapping this up. What strikes me most is just the sheer level of detail. It covers everything. Purity, family lines, food, animal condition, timing.
It is breathtakingly meticulous.
What's your big takeaway from that intense focus on detail?
Well, I think it loops back to what the text itself says at the end of this section. The purpose is stated, keep my commands and follow them. And crucially, do not profane my holy name.
Right.
God insists I must be acknowledged as holy by the Israelites. He reminds them, I am the Lord who made you holy, who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. So all these rules, this meticulousness, it's fundamentally about maintaining that holiness, that sacred relationship established in their liberation and covenant. The details are the expression of that holy status.
So it brings us to the final thought then, for everyone listening. what does all this mean for us now? How do these ancient, super detailed rules about physical purity, about who's in and who's out, about perfect sacrifices, how do they maybe reflect something more universal, these human desires for order, maybe control, a respectful connection with something bigger than ourselves?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. What does it mean to keep commands, to respect the sacred today, even when our sacred spaces, our offerings, look completely different than they did back then? Something to think about.